Something unexpected just happened behind the scenes of the NFL, and it directly impacts what could be the most pivotal moment of the season for Minnesota. While fans waited for a bold move, silence took over. But don't be fooled. Beneath the surface, pressure is building, and one overlooked decision may define everything from playoff hopes to the future of the franchise. What really happened at the trade deadline, and why could it be the turning point nobody saw coming? Let's break it down. But first, click the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay well informed. It's the type of silence that gets loud fast, one that's broken not by celebration or panic, but by stunned disbelief. The NFL trade deadline came and went, and for the first time in the quasi-adofo-mensah era, the Minnesota Vikings did nothing. Not a single move. No additions. No subtractions. Just the sound of phones not ringing, deals not shaking. But just when the Purple faithful thought they were left out of the chaos, ripples from other teams' bold moves began washing ashore, some crashing straight into Minnesota's path. First off, eyes turned to Baltimore, where the Ravens just traded for edge rusher Draymond Jones from the Tennessee Titans. A conditional 2026 fifth-round pick was all it took. With a twist, if Jones records 2 sacks and the Ravens make the playoffs, that pick jumps to a fourth-rounder. What does that mean for the Vikings? The Ravens are scared. That's the read here. They're not just preparing to beat Minnesota this Sunday. They're bracing for an eruption from none other than J.J. McCarthy. And after what he did to the Lions, why wouldn't they? McCarthy's reputation is no longer just a Minnesota storyline. Around the league, defensive coordinators are staying up late trying to crack the code of number 9. And Baltimore isn't taking chances. They fortified their front, essentially saying, "We saw what happened to Detroit, and it won't be us." But that decision may say more about the Vikings than it does about the Ravens. Now, while that move sets the stage for a potential showdown this weekend, let's talk about the elephant, or rather the ghost, in the Vikings' war room. 0 trades. Nothing. Vikings fans watched the ticker, the Twitter rumors, the analyst reactions, and silence. But there's one free agent lurking in the shadows that could still change that narrative. Asante Samuel Jr. Yes, that Asante Samuel. Cleared to return from spinal fusion surgery. Now, suddenly, a top free agent on the board. And the whispers? They're back. Months ago, he was spotted in a club in Miami wearing a Vikings hat. The SKOL North podcast even mentioned it, suggesting a deal was quietly on the table. And now, the door might be swinging back open. Cornerback remains one of the Vikings' thinnest positions. They've elevated and demoted players like Fabian Moreau, while struggling with inconsistent performances from Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers. Jeff Okudah is still recovering from a concussion. The room is brittle, and the Vikings know it. Bringing in Samuel now could be the final puzzle piece, a low-cost, high-upside move to shore up a position that's been gasping for reinforcements all season. Meanwhile, another bombshell dropped, though not directly by the Vikings. The Colts went nuclear and traded for Sauce Gardner. You heard that right. Sauce Gardner, the elite corner from the Jets. And the price? A 2026 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and a weaponized wide receiver in Adonai Mitchell. That's an NFL haul. And for Vikings fans, it triggered a tidal wave of what-ifs online. But let's not get it twisted. Acquiring Gardner would have been a financial catastrophe for Minnesota. Sauce just inked the largest cornerback deal in NFL history. The Vikings are already projected to be $36 million over the cap next season. Trading for Sauce wouldn't just mortgage the future, it'd handcuff it. Sure, you can dream about a McCarthy Sauce era, but in reality, it would have been organizational malpractice to pull the trigger on that deal now. So while Colts fans pop champagne, Vikings fans need to understand that sometimes the best move is the one you don't make. But that doesn't mean there isn't pressure. As the roster stands, the cornerback group is hanging by a thread. Even if Samuel comes in, this group is playing with fire. The moves made by others only increase the stakes for the Vikings down the stretch. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys added Quinnen Williams to their defensive arsenal, sending a 2026 second and a conditional 2027 first to the Jets. That 2027 pick? It'll be whichever is higher between the Cowboys and Packers. Another massive acquisition from a team trying to leapfrog into playoff contention. And guess what? The Vikings will face that very Dallas team late in the season on Sunday Night Football under the brightest lights of the regular season. And then there's Chicago. The Bears didn't make a splash, but they did make a move. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka comes in for a 2026 sixth-round pick, with a seventh-rounder going back. Minimal impact? Sure. But with Jaylon Johnson out and the Bears' secondary in shambles, even small tweaks could create wrinkles in that upcoming Vikings-Bears matchup. What does this all mean? It means Minnesota's playoff path is clear, but not easy. The next 4 games? Baltimore and Chicago at home, followed by road games at Green Bay and Seattle. Minimum expectation, split those. If they do, they're 6-6 and very much alive. Then comes a 3-game gauntlet. Commanders at home, winnable. Cowboys on the road, critical. Giants on the road, must win. If the Vikings can go 3-0 there, they hit 9-6. That sets up a finish against the Lions and Packers at home. Win 1, get to 10-7. That's the number. But to get there, the Vikings need more than just matchups. They need mindset. This week against Baltimore, it's a gut check. It's not just a game, it's a question. Can J.J. McCarthy go toe-to-toe with Lamar Jackson in a statement win that sets the tone for the rest of the year? Can this defense that generates top 3 pressures actually bring the quarterback down? Can they tackle? Can they stop the run? Because here's the stat that should haunt Vikings fans heading into Sunday. They're great at pressure, terrible at finishing. If Jared Goff can duck a sack, imagine what Lamar Jackson will do. Containing him is the single most important factor in this game. And if they can't do that, they don't just lose this game, they lose momentum, and possibly their season. But McCarthy's leadership is undeniable. After that emotional win against Detroit as 9-point underdogs, he told his team, "We can't let this be a letdown." And he's right. History says Minnesota struggles the week after big wins. Just look at last year. After beating Buffalo in that miracle OT game, they got wrecked by the Cowboys 40-3 the following week. It cannot happen again. So here's where we'll pause. But before we go on to the second part of this breakdown, tell me, are you disappointed the Vikings didn't make a move at the deadline? Would you have pulled the trigger on a deal for Sauce Gardner, even at the cost of 2 firsts? And is J.J. McCarthy the guy who can break this franchise's pattern and lead Minnesota into the playoffs? Let me know in the comments. And now, the stakes are higher than ever. The Vikings stand at a crossroads. With the trade deadline behind them, no reinforcements coming through last-minute deals, and all eyes turning toward the field, every snap J.J. McCarthy takes from here on out will shape not just his rookie season, but potentially the next 5 years of Vikings football. This team has done something rare. They've proven to themselves they can beat anyone. That road win over the Lions wasn't just a victory. It was a statement. The kind that echoes through a locker room, through film rooms, through opposing coaching staffs. The kind that tells every remaining opponent, this team won't go quietly. The challenge now? Keep the energy. Keep the edge. Baltimore brings Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and one of the most dynamic offenses in football to US Bank Stadium this weekend. The Vikings' defense can pressure quarterbacks, yes, but bringing them down has been another story. If they can't contain Lamar, they'll be chasing shadows all game long. But if they can force third and longs, keep Henry in check, and put the game on Lamar's arm, that's when the upset becomes real. And then comes Chicago, a divisional game, a rivalry, a test of maturity. The kind of game that could undo all the momentum, or lock it in. This is where legends begin. J.J. McCarthy has the talent. Now it's about the moment. About execution. About showing that the Detroit game wasn't a one-off, it was the new standard. Vikings fans, this is your team's inflection point. They're one win away from turning believers into contenders. One loss away from losing the thread. Every play matters. Every quarter counts. So, what do you think? Will J.J. McCarthy carry this team to a playoff berth? Can the defense hold strong in crunch time? Drop your take in the comments, and if you're riding with the Vikes down the stretch, smash that like button and hit subscribe. We'll be breaking it all down week by week right here. Let's go, Vikes!